Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Dario here with another Options in Play video update. Uh, Crazy day. Huge down session. Set a lot of things in motion. This is, I don't want to say totally out of the blue because we've had a little bit of a spout of volatility just over the last week, but I mean, definitely unexpectedly big drop today. And what is interesting, and I guess what will be interesting, is to see how this settles, and once we stabilize, really start to get a feel for how to start positioning into October earnings, right? Because like those are going to be the next big events, right? So um, in the meantime, right? So before we get to earnings, uh, what is interesting is that we have some things coming up that really should see a lot of volatility too, like kind of unrelated to the market, right? And for me, like a lot of my strangle and straddle ideas revolve around earnings because big catalysts, there's a pretty good chance that the stock could have a significant move up or down, right, based off of the quality of the data, the quality of the earnings and the guide, etc., right? So that's why I love straddles and strangles around earnings. But there are other scenarios where you might want to look at straddles and strangles, and we got a couple of those coming up, right? So this one's just pretty straightforward, and sometimes straddles and strangles, like if you just focus on like really critical inflection points, like make or break setups, right? I mean, if you look at the option pricing and you think like over 2 weeks, over 3 weeks, over a month, over 2 months, the option pricing seems very low based off the critical make or break nature of the setup, right? Then that could potentially work for a straddle or a strangle, because what you're looking for is just movement, right? Movement exceeding the option pricing. So if you're looking at a make or break setup, right, expectations are it's going to move, right? And charge point, this was one that stood out to me. And you can see how clearly 20 support levels held many times in 2021. It's a huge level, right? Underneath it, there's a ton of room lower, and then you'll notice like every single time it's bounced. So in March, again in March, in April, right, in May, didn't quite get down there in August, but you'll notice that every single time it's held and bounced, it's been a sizable move, and it's tended to play out pretty fast, right? So the stock is wedging into it, critical inflection point, critical area of support. And the last few times it's bounced, it's been 20, 30, 40, 50% type rally off of this level, right? Whereas a breakdown could be pretty significant too, right? So when you look at it, make or break stock, don't necessarily know which direction, just know that it seems like a setup where it should move, right? The other scenario where I feel like you could look at straddles and strangles is biotech data, right? So this one just recently had some news. This was so we weren't involved. We weren't involved on this August pop, but we were involved going into the presentation of that data release because it was lining up to be a big mover, either direction. Didn't have a preference. Only thought that going into the data release or the data presentation that it was going to be a sizable mover, right? So that's why, in my opinion, options are particularly suited well for biotech, because it's not about picking the direction, it's just about picking the setups where you think it can move, right? And especially move more than what the options are pricing in. So when it comes to biotechs, everybody complains that, oh, they're too volatile, too much risk. You might come in one day and it's down 80%, or up the next day and it's up 100%, right? But if you're trading options, you control your risk. You know what you pay for your contracts, and what you pay is your max potential loss, right? So if you can control your risk, participate in some of these big moves, then what it comes down to is just finding the ones that are going to move, right? The ones that are going to move more than what the options are pricing in, and that's what we are constantly screening for, right? So whether it's BYSI or Edit is another name we're looking at, which will have data tomorrow morning, right? These are names that don't necessarily have to pick the direction. You just have to find the patterns where you think the options are underpriced, and or the stocks could have a very big move, right? And then the stock and the data will determine which direction it goes, and hopefully one side makes up for the loss of the other side, right? That's how straddles and strangles work. One side might get crushed, but as long as the other side is up more than what the other side loses, then you can come out ahead, okay? So, as we get closer to earnings, definitely a strategy that I will start to look at a little bit more frequently. But even before we get to earnings, there's some things on the radar. And I'm sure that there'll be patterns that you look at as well that I don't, that probably have pretty solid setups. So shoot me a message. You know where to get in touch with me. I'm on the VTF all day, so let me know what you guys think, all right? So if you like this video and you're looking for more information about trading straddles, strangles, all sorts of event trading, please follow up with the link in the description of the video for more information on options to play. Have a fantastic night. Stay well, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.